Okay, hello everybody. My name's Kimberly. I run Olson's Tours and Training. We do remote area tours and all sorts of four-wheel drive training, learn to tow training, caravan weighing, and all the rest of it. Now, excuse the photograph of the aircraft. That's my sailplane. I was earlier on doing a meeting via Zoom for the gliding fraternity. Particularly women in gliding. So I couldn't find another background to put up that I wanted to put up. So that's the one we've got. So anyway, I wanted to have a quick chat because I was contacted today by a client regarding, the setup of a new vehicle and trying to prioritize literally what to do and what not to do, or, I guess the question is typically, do we really need to spend all this money? And the answer is typically, no, you don't. But there are plenty of people who tell you you do. So let me just talk about a couple of things. If you're coming along with me, for instance, and you're coming to do a trip like the Simpson Desert, then, and you've got a relatively new vehicle, don't go and spend a whole bunch of money modifying it. The best thing you can spend your money on, I've said this probably a million times in all my videos, is brand new tires. Come along with the best tires you can afford to have. And then, of course, you need some creature comforts, but you don't really even need those. I've had lots of Europeans come on my trips, for instance, and not have a fridge. We Australians seem to think that we can't go forward driving without a fridge, but I was forward driving from a very young age, either driving myself or having my father or a relative driving. We didn't have fridges in those days, and we'd go away for equally as long. So, you can get away with eating the kinds of foods that you would eat if you were hiking. Typically, if you're doing a Simpson Desert trip, it's 8 days. If you're doing a Hay River trip, it's 10 days. Even the Canning Stock route, 23 days we do the Gun Barrel and the Canning Inn. You could live for 23 days on the kinds of foods that, you could carry day by day. Now, I cycled around New Zealand for 3 months. Granted, I was able to get fresh food nearly every day, so it's a bit different the Canning Stock route. But, you can't carry a fridge on a bicycle. You can't carry a fridge if you're walking the Larapinta Trail. You can't carry a fridge if you're walking the Appalachian Trail in the United States. So do you need a fridge? No, you don't need a fridge. You just need to plan how you're going to eat when you don't have a fridge. So it's all about prioritizing. And you start with, if I don't spend the money on that, I'm going to break down in the middle of nowhere. If I don't spend the money on that, I'm going to have a really awful time. These are the kinds of things that you think about when you're trying to prioritize how you spend your money. So, is the 2-inch lift necessary? For the Simpson Desert and Hay River? Absolutely not. No, is not. Never necessary. Is it a nice to have? Probably not even. Depends on the car, Now, if you're talking Cape York, then get all the lift you can put under the thing without being stupid. And that's typically 2 inches, maybe 75 mil for some cars. The problem, of course, when you lift modern cars that don't have live axles, and if you don't know what a live axle is, don't worry. Just if you have a modern car that has, independent front suspension, or if you have any modern four-wheel drive, if you're going to go and get a 2-inch lift, ask the person, does this car have a live axle or is it independent front suspension? And if they answer it's independent front suspension, then you tell them, I need a differential drop. I need a diff drop, because if you don't get it, you'll break the CVs ultimately. So this is how the costs kind of run on. Okay, do I need the 2-inch lift? No, I don't. Oh, I'm going to get it anyway. Well, if you get the 2-inch lift, you better prepare to spend another 200 plus fitting on the diff drop for most four-wheel drives these days, independent front suspension four-wheel drives. And then, it's questions about, do I need a bigger diameter wheels? Well, they can be an advantage and a disadvantage, and depends, what is a higher priority. And the higher priorities are the things that are going to cause me to break down in the middle of nowhere, or the things that are going to make me have a really bad time. So I need to be comfortable, and I need to be able to have a meal, and I need to have a place where I can sleep, where I can be warm, and if it's likely to rain, where I can be dry. And the rest is a nice to have, really. We're just talking about the key things, and this is the problem, that people very much get misled by the salespeople. So I'm going to talk about batteries and fridges, having already determined that a fridge isn't necessary but a nice to have. Then let's talk about having a fridge. So now I've got a fridge. Here's where the costs run on happen. If I put a fridge in my car, I can't run it off the starter battery, or I'll risk being in a situation where I break down in the middle of nowhere because I can't start my car. The battery's flat. So we need an auxiliary battery. Okay, so that's extra cost. We've got maybe $230 for the battery, maybe same sort of money for the system to hold it, the tray and bolt down pieces, and then, $70 or $80 for a fairly basic kind of smart relay, if you like. And you don't even need the smart relay. If you know as much about auto electrics as I do and others do, you can get away with what we used to call the idiot switch. Wouldn't recommend it, but you can get away with it. You can get away with fairly simple relay systems. And if you want to ask me about those simple systems, then please do. But, even the smart solenoids now are typically fairly cheap. So you can get one of those, right? So, all right, we've already gone and spent the money on the fridge. Let's say we spent anything from $600 to $2,000 for a fridge. Then we had to spend another $600 for the battery mounting paraphernalia in the smart solenoid, and so now we can run a fridge. Great. That only cost us $2,600 just to have a fridge. So you can see how this just snowballs, right? So staying with the fridges and the batteries. So then you'll go and you'll talk to someone, because she said, all right, I want to have a fridge. I'm prepared to pay the price. And you'll go to talk to someone in the battery place or the four-wheel drive shop or somewhere else, and they'll say, oh, you need a lithium battery. I recommend you get a lithium battery. And you go, oh, why? Why do I need a lithium? And they will say, oh, if you're going to run a fridge or something, then the lithium's going to be able to handle it better. You're going to not risk getting a flat battery. Because the lithium can handle the kind of current draw that your fridge will have. Okay, now let's pull that statement apart, because we're not really interested in what the salesman told us necessarily. What we're interested in is this. Is it necessary, or is it a nice to have, the lithium battery? So the question then becomes, despite what the salesman just told you, can I complete the trip that I intend to complete, or the trips that I intend to complete, without the lithium battery? If I just have an ordinary car starter battery, what is the actual, in practice, disadvantage? Because everything the salesman said is true. The lithium can handle greater drawdown. The lithium can handle higher current. So things drawing higher currents. And what I mean by higher drawdown is that it has a greater charge capacity, so it can give up more of its charge. It can go down to a lower voltage and not suffer any damage, and you can charge it back up again. Whereas a 12-volt battery's got a very small kind of margin that it operates in, 12.6 to 12.1, 12 volts, somewhere there. You certainly don't want to be running your 12-volt starter battery down to 10 volts all the time. You'll destroy it. All right, but will I run it down to 10 volts is then the question, or will I be able to stay within a normal capacity? And the answer is, depends how long you stop for. If you're typically just stopping overnight and you've got a single fridge, you'll be fine. Now, I have 2 fridges in my 4Drive because I'm running a tour business, and so I have twice as much drawdown, and one runs as a freezer, one runs as a fridge, so the freezer uses more power. So then, do I run my battery down overnight? No, I don't. And first of all, my fridges have a power cut off. If they were to run the battery down that far, they'd switch off, and they don't. Secondly, the battery can handle that for a single night. It can't handle it for multiple nights, however. Additionally, I've got a solar panel charging that battery. Only a small one, it's only 80 watts, but it's enough to keep that battery charged to the extent that, that it will handle a day or two parked up. I have an additional 200 watt solar blanket that I can put out if I want to park up for more days than that. So then the question was, do I need a lithium battery? And the answer for me is no. I can use a lead acid marine battery or even a lead acid deep cycle battery as long as I've got solar panels. I'll get to that point later. I can use a normal lead acid battery, marine or deep cycle, and charge it with the solar panel that's on my car permanently and not have the battery run down as long as I don't stop for 3 days. Now, if I do stop for 3 days, then I can put the bigger solar panel out and I still won't run my battery down. So why do I need a lithium again? Please tell me, Mr. Salesman. I've been doing this since I was a teenager, and we didn't have lithium batteries then. And I haven't managed to flatten my battery yet. So now, that's not to say you shouldn't get a lithium battery if you want to and if it's in your budget. However, here's what you get. If you buy a lithium battery, you get the main advantage, in my view, is weight saving. Okay. The other advantage is that higher charge, usable charge capacity. So I can run my fridge for longer and not risk damaging the battery. So that's the main advantage. I can also draw a whole bunch of power, but we're not typically drawing that much power. So I'll give you the contrast, and I wish I had an image to show you. I wonder if I do. I'm going to see if I can pull one up on my browser. So this is Luminos, without any sponsor details on it at the moment. This is a solar car built for the 2013 World Solar Challenge. This car was built by undergraduate students at Stanford University, and I was invited to participate in the team by being in a support role of meteorology and outback guide. And I've been a fan of the World Solar Challenge for a very long time, and there are lots of similarities between flying gliders and racing solar cars. And so let's talk about this solar car. As you can see, it's predominantly solar panels, and the regulations had actually minimized the amount of solar panel that you're allowed to use in the interest of increasing their technological innovation. The motors, which are on each wheel, are super high-tech motors. Nonetheless, they draw an awful lot of current from what I believe were lithium ferrous phosphate batteries. I think they were just lithium phosphate. I think they were lithium ferrous phosphate. And and this car was capable of 130 kilometers per hour. And I think we averaged 95 kilometers per hour for the trip from Darwin to Adelaide, and we came in at 4th place. So the battery is about the size of a briefcase, and it sits right in front of the driver, and it has a quick release mechanism, and it's scrutineering the driver, and the battery must be able to be removed from the car within a certain period of time. And that's because of the risk of fire. So this kind of application draws the battery down really rapidly, so rapidly that potentially you can have what's called thermal overrun. Now, people will tell you lithium ferrous phosphate batteries don't suffer thermal overrun. That is not true. as you can see by the photograph behind me, I am a glider pilot, and some of our gliders nowadays are what called front engine sustainers, and they will have a battery powered motor that's powered by lithium ferrous phosphate batteries, and the biggest risk to those is fire. I don't run lithium batteries for the power supply in my glider, despite the fact that it will give me a big weight advantage in terms of lessening the weight and therefore allowing my fat body to fit in the glider better, or not be overweight. I don't run them because I don't want the risk of fire in an aircraft. Thank you very much. And so for me, I'll also never own a front engine sustainer that has electric motor. So that's a long explanation. Why won't I have lithium batteries in my car? I won't have them in my car because I don't need to save that much weight. It's a weight saving. It's a big weight saving if you're in an aircraft, but not so much if you're a four-wheel drive. Excuse me. And the cost, the battery itself is very expensive. It's finicky. It doesn't tolerate being mistreated. And therefore it needs a specialized charger. So it doesn't just need a DC-DC multi-stage charger, it needs one specifically to suit a lithium battery. Otherwise you'll have a fire or you'll destroy the battery. So I not only need the battery, but I then need the fancy charging system. And what do I get for that? For me, I get nothing. I get a longer period that I can run my fridge, but I don't really, because I've got solar panels and enough battery capacity, and I never run my battery down when I run my fridge anyway. So I'm paying a lot of money for a charger and a battery for a purpose that I don't require. If you require it, good, but I don't. And so for me, and in answer to the questions asked by other people, I have to keep coming back to, is it necessary or is it a nice to have? And if you don't have enough experience to say, well, I don't know, ask others. If you run your fridge off a normal car battery, and beware that people say, oh no, I got a lithium. And if they've never run it off the car battery, then they don't know. I run a lithium because, car batteries will run, lead acid batteries will run down if I run the fridge on. Well, have you ever tried? Because it sounds to me like you haven't. So the specific problem that I was talking to this particular client about, I said this: if it were my vehicle. Now, I can't ever make a decision for a client, say, I recommend this, because I don't know the personal situation. I don't know what the personal priorities are. So I'll talk about how I do the prioritizing, and then I'll give a response as though it were my vehicle. And so in this particular case, I said, if it were my vehicle, I would fit a lead acid battery. If I'm charging it off an alternator, it can't be a deep cycle because it just won't charge properly. It has to be a marine lead acid battery. If I'm charging it off a solar panel predominantly and also the alternator, then that's fine. I can have a deep cycle. So a lead acid deep cycle battery. And I would simply put as many solar panels as I could fit on the roof of the car. In this case, it was going to go on a pod style rooftop tent. So there's capacity to put solar panel, probably 500 watts or more on top of the tent. So that's the way I would have gone. I would have put as many solar panels as I could possibly fit. You saw the solar car, right? And I would just run a standard old marine battery, or if I was charging mostly off the solar, then a deep cycle lead acid battery. And the cost savings would be quite a bit, and I wouldn't end up with such a finicky system and expensive system to maintain. So, people will sell you stuff because it's the latest and greatest, and they'll convince you that you need it. And You need a little bit of experience to tell if you do need it or not. And if it comes down to, do I spend my money on something that is important, like tires, or do I spend my money on the fancy, shiny lithium battery and battery charger? And then the answer is tires. So that's fridges and stuff. And if you want to ask me about other things, you can do that too. One of them I get asked about all the time is, do I need a bull bar? My way of answering that is, well, bull bars are a really handy place to mount antennas and spotlights, but it's an expensive way to mount antennas and spotlights. There are cheaper ways to do that. Good place to put a winch as well. So the question is, do I need an antenna? Do I need spotlights? And do I need winch? Can I mount the antenna somewhere else? Can I mount the spotlight somewhere else? Can I mount the winch somewhere else? The answer is you can't mount the winch anywhere else. It has to go on the bull bar. Spotlight's pretty hard to mount them anywhere but on a bull bar, but you can get a fairly minimal kind of light bar if you want. Antenna, ditto, you can mount it on a fairly cheap sort of little light bar if you want. So then what's the purpose of the bull bar? The purpose of the bull bar is to protect the car somewhat from the kind of impact that you might have if you're driving at night or dawn and dusk. So do I need a fitted bull bar? If you drive at dawn and dusk, it's probably not a bad idea. If you don't intend to drive at dawn and dusk and you want to save some money, then don't buy the bull bar. These are the kinds of questions you have to roll through. Don't just get convinced that, every four-wheel drive's got a bull bar, I need a bull bar. Well, not every four-wheel drive has a bull bar. In fact, the one that I use to run my tours from presently doesn't have a bull bar. The antenna is mounted on the roof rack. The UHF antenna, the HF antenna, or a flying doctor radio, is mounted on the tire rack on the back. And I don't have any spotlights. So yes, I am going to get a bull bar, but the priorities for me were new tires, some mechanical things that needed to be done with the suspension. My suspension needed replacing, so I did do a 2-inch lift and a diff drop, and other things, fitting out the vehicle so that I could run tours with it, installing my HF radio and UHF radio and those kinds of things. So that's the way I do it. That's the way I recommend you do it. Don't be convinced by the salesman. And if you really want to test it out and you want to find out what the salesman knows, ask them, how many times have you driven across the Simpson Desert? If you're coming on a Simpson Desert trip and they're telling you, you need this to do that kind of trip, you ask them, how many times have you done that trip? What, the Simpson Desert? Yeah. How many times have you done it? And I'll tell you now, the answer will be, oh, I haven't done it. There's very few of them who've done it. Some have, I admit. Get a local ARB. Some people in that store will have done it. I've done it 24 times. So my advice comes with that level of experience. And I did it in the days when, we used an esky. The first time I went across the Simpson Desert, my food was in an esky, right? Not in a fridge. So there you go. I hope that helps you all.